Broadcasting live from the EBSN online studios in Columbus, Ohio. It's The Rivalry, the tale of two schools, with former NFL scout and son of legendary Michigan head coach Bo Schembechler, bringing you both sides of the greatest rivalry in all of sports. Here's your host, Shemy Schembechler.
Hey, Boren, you made it on time, in time for the legendary John U. Bacon. Hello, John U. Bacon.
Hello, Schembechler.
It's great to have you on this show, celebrating the greatest rivalry in the history of all of sports. Bacon,
you ready? This on the air right here?
I think with the fact you're on the internet, I think we're okay.
There we go.
Zach,
of course, Pierre gave this to me. I'm a victim here, you realize.
Yeah, I totally get that.
Exactly.
Well, he kind of said before you got here that you were expecting to get at least a couple beers out of the show, right? Is that the deal?
I drive a hard bargain.
That's awesome. Dr. Boren, it's great to have you on the onset of this show. Way to hustle into the studio.
Thanks, Shemy. We were losing you again, but I think we got you back. I think we're good to go.
All right, very good, very good. Well, we've had quite an interesting week of football and news off the field. The idea that you lost your number one pass rusher last week, and I think he's going to be out for a period of time. Would you agree with that?
I don't think any of us can give an opinion one way or the other, Shemy. I don't think we all know what the degree of injury it was.
Okay.
That's the old Bo saying, right? When they ask about injuries.
Well, all I know is, and this goes back to my days in the National Football League. We studied up on injuries now, Dr. Boren. All right.
Yeah.
And you have a lower abdomen strain that requires surgery. It is similar to tearing your hamstring at some level. So do not be shocked if this is a multiple week injury that I think he'll be back from Michigan, but I don't know if that's a guarantee. And obviously I'm not a doctor, but I know time frames of injuries now. And so you got to be careful.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think he definitely had surgery. So let's be honest, it's serious, but we can all give speculation until they come out and come out and say what it actually was and what they went in and repaired. But I think you're right. I don't know about Michigan game. I think you're looking, maybe Nebraska, November 3rd, first week in November, something like that, be back for November football.
I think the idea that going into Happy Valley in 2 weeks, I wouldn't expect that in any way.
No, I would agree with you. Totally.
Right.
That's 9 days from now, Shemy.
I know.
Yeah, no way on that one.
I know.
No way.
Look, right now, clearly Ohio State is loaded for bear yet again.
Right.
It's the one team in the Big Ten right now that's a top 5 team and playing like it.
Right.
Penn State, of course, struggled against Appalachian State. Michigan lost to Notre Dame.
Yep.
What happened to Michigan State and holy mackerel, Nebraska, Northwestern, Purdue, the list goes on and on. It was not a good week for the Big Ten.
It was a terrible week. But, hey, we got to talk about John because he is arguably the most prolific writer in the entire state of Michigan, and he's written more books. I mean,
Mitch Albom does pretty well.
Huh?
Mitch Albom does pretty well.
Well, I know, but he's got more years on you, though.
He does have that.
He has more years.
And
so we're talking about average of years, average in a period of time. I'd put you right up there now.
Yeah, the last 10 years we've cranked them out.
Yeah,
no
exactly.
Starting, of course, with your dad's book.
There's no doubt about that.
A ton of fun on that one. So.
I mean, you talk about an unbelievable book that details how to be successful, not only as a coach, but in sports, but in life. How to run an organization, how to be organized in everything that you do. And I can tell you, I go back to that book often in terms of how we run our business, and how we run our personal lives.
I can tell you this. I get letters even now and calls and so on from even Big Ten basketball coaches at opposing schools.
Yeah.
Read that book every winter.
Right.
So your dad gave me a great gift with that, obviously. And Mr. Boren, I recall Archie Griffin himself saying on the Big Ten Network, if you made that cover scarlet and gray instead of maize and blue, it sure sounded a whole lot like Woody Hayes.
No doubt about that.
That's true. That's true. Hey, we used to watch the documentary every year before Ohio State, Michigan, and you were in the documentary about talking about this book and Bo himself.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. That documentary, it's the HBO documentary. They did a great job on that.
Yes, they did.
Because they got past the wins and losses to the whole cultural aspect. And dare I say it, the undercurrent of deep respect that does run between these two schools,
Yep.
which no one will confess on a daily basis. Of course, it's not the point. But
well, the bottom line, this is kind of why we have this show.
It's a great rivalry for a reason. Exactly.
That's why we have this show.
Look, I mean, you got Mr. Boren on every week. You got plenty of Buckeyes on through, and we talk to the old guys who played for both Bo and Woody. Mm-hmm. Man, those guys are about as close as you can get for opposing guys who, of course, hated each other when they played.
Right.
But you think about it now. Does it even come close? Is there any comparison nowadays between any coaches, any team? I mean, I don't even know if it's close.
Well, I think you have to go back to the beginning, Zach, and understanding how the coaching profession was developed back in the 50s. And I think you have to understand that to provide context. To put it in today's times, I think it's near impossible, all right? Because back in those days, coaches followed coaches from school to school. I mean, it wasn't like if you were a premier coach at another school and you came to Michigan. I don't think, like even a Rich Rodriguez doesn't come here in that period of time, all right? Now, I think it's all based on relationships and building relationships. And I love going back to the cradle of coaches. Mm-hmm. All the coaches came out of Miami University, and they all came after the big job. So when Woody Hayes got the Ohio State job in 1950, it came down to him and Sid Gilman, who was the head coach of Cincinnati. And I think if you understand how local recruiting programs, all those things were, before television really changed everything. Mm-hmm. And I think now you can go get a coach from anywhere across the country. You can go get a Jim Harbaugh from the San Francisco 49ers, even though he has ties to Michigan. But the fact that you see all these coaches on television all the time, that sells recruiting in a big way when you come from the National Football League. And we're going to talk about Michigan recruiting here in a little bit because I was watching this Dex Hill, this guy who committed. Goodness gracious, he's a freak athlete. We're going to talk about him later, though. John, I really, and I always love getting together with you and just talking about Bo's legacy, our history with him, your history with him, you being born and bred in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and growing up as a fan of Bo.
No question.
And
by the way, when I was growing up in Ann Arbor, there was no choice.
I know that. I know that. But
not that I wanted to make one. Right?
Exactly. And so I'm always fascinated whenever you tell the story about how you got to meet Bo, how everything started.
When I was a 10-year-old kid?
Exactly. The whole story at Yost Ice Arena.
Exactly right.
I love that story.
It's Yost Ice Arena. It must have been 1975, I believe. Mm-hmm. Michigan's playing Michigan State in a hard-fought game, and Glenn Williams gets on the PA system.
Yep.
And he said, "Would Bo Schembechler please meet Dan Deerdorf beneath the south stands?" Bo Schembechler. And my little hockey buddies and I, we were dumb, but we weren't that stupid. There's no way in hell there are two guys named Bo Schembechler in this building. The odds are too great, right?
Precisely.
So Scott Childs, my best buddy, he and I grabbed our programs, got some pens from our parents, left our little hockey buddies, left our parents behind, marched down to meet the great man at the height of his powers. As Zach, 75, that's the Bo Woody War, of course, as you well know, as your dad raised you on that. Mm-hmm. And as I approached Bo, I realized, wow, he's a lot bigger than I thought he was.
With those big, meaty hands.
Well, exactly. Well, look at Zach. On the football field, he seems like a smaller, intense, fast guy.
Right.
Stand next to Zach Boren, he's a whole lot bigger than any of us. So,
exactly.
You think Bo is a small guy. He stands next to a guy named Bubba Paris and Jumbo Elliott.
Yeah.
Bo was 6'1", as you well know.
Right.
195 pounds of blue twisted steel.
Well, he was not 6'1". He was 5'11" and a half.
Is that right?
Yeah. See, now you're talking to the NFL scout that measured everybody.
That's probably true.
So he's 5'11" and a half.
So
it's all right. Shemy also says I'm like 5'7", so you're okay.
Yeah, but it's accurate. See, you've been avoiding me.
I've met Zach several times. He is taller than I am. I know that. So.
Exactly.
And I'm 5'8". But anyway, and of course, Deerdorf's even bigger when he's with the Cardinals.
No doubt.
NFL Hall of Fame career.
I remember how Bo wanted to get him down to 260, which is near impossible.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Now, think about that now. But anyway, so I see these guys, realize now they're bigger than I thought, and I'm too intimidated. So I said, okay, I'm taking off. So I start to walk away when Bo goes, the famous sausage finger goes like this. Hold up. So now I can't walk away, and I can't walk towards him. I have no idea what to do here. I'm just getting smaller and grinding my program. Mm-hmm. And then he interrupts his conversation with Deerdorf to say, "What can I do for you young men?" And as you know, your dad's voice is bigger than I even expected. He lacked an inside voice, if we can say that with great confidence.
Precisely.
So I very bravely took my program and went, all my bravado's gone, all my cool's out the window. So He signs it very carefully.
You had cool when you were 10?
On the walk down, not on the walk back. For about 8 seconds, I guess.
Right.
But he signed his name very carefully, and as Schembechler said, that's not easy when your last name is 12 letters long. Now, that ignores the fact that his first name is 2 letters long. That's 14 total. Divided by 2 is 7 each, about average.
Right.
One of the many arguments I did not have with your father.
Right.
Because there's no point. You get about 2 bullets a year. Don't waste them. But I've asked that question nationwide. And I will often have somebody in the audience who will have a Bo Schembechler autograph. And I can say in front of a large crowd, I've not met you. This is not a plant. I guarantee you that your autograph is exactly the same as mine because your dad not once scribbled his name.
Right.
It was always carefully up and down.
Yep.
Mary Paskin and I figured out that Bo had signed his name for free for his fans conservatively over 1 million times.
No doubt.
And I'm sure Woody did too.
No doubt.
Think about that.
And the other amazing
fill the
thing
horseshoe
is,
10 times, fill the big house 10 times.
Right.
Look them all in the eye, ask them what they do for a living, ask them their name.
Yep.
Sign your name.
Yep.
That's what Bo did. That's what Woody did.
Yep. And the other thing was, he never wrote just Bo. He always wrote out Bo Schembechler every single time.
And then he said, "What's your name, young man?" And that's when my eyes got big, and I panicked, and I'm thinking, damn it, I know this one. But we had nothing up there, man.
Exactly.
I turned to Scott Child, my best friend of 5 years, half my life at this time.
Yeah.
I was looking for a little help, and he goes, I was thinking, thanks, dude. I will not forget this, and I have not.
Yeah.
And then I finally say, John, I think, and Bo laughed at that and said, "It's to John, go blue." And he rolls it up, bonks me in the head, jams into my chest, and says, "Thank you for supporting the Wolverines." And then we come back to our seats, and the bravado comes back up, and all people, our friends and our parents and so on, did you get the autograph? Yeah, check it out right there. Boom. Well, what's he really like? He's pretty cool. Talk about the Ohio State game, give him a few play ideas. I could barely even say my name, but in one of my books, I dedicated to my mom, who said, "Your character's what you do when you think no one's watching."
Exactly.
And I saw your father pass that test 1,000 times. But never was it more important for me than when I was a 10-year-old kid shaking in my shoes.
Right.
If he had blown me off, we're not writing that last book.
Right.
And,
there's no doubt.
And there's no way in hell he thought this 10-year-old kid who cannot think of his own name will one day be responsible for his last words on earth.
No doubt. No doubt.
So that gift from your dad, I have never forgotten. And I've seen your dad do that 1 million times.
Yeah. You know what? And I love talking about legacies. And one day I'm going to sit down and write down the Schembechler memoirs. How much of that he got from his parents?
Oh, a ton. And you got to count Woody as his third parent, basically.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. Absolutely.
Because apparently your grandfather, the original Shemy.
Yeah, the original Shemy. That's right.
Was a man of hardworking guy, great integrity,
great integrity.
But he's not a big sports fan. Your grandmother was,
and he was very quiet.
Very quiet. And trust me, you already know this better than anybody.
Yes.
Your father was neither quiet nor an indifferent sports fan.
That's Betty.
That's Betty, and that's Woody. I have to give a story about Zach here before we go on, out of respect.
Definitely.
I wrote a book 3 and Out years ago about the Rich Rodriguez years. When I interviewed Zach for the next book, Fourth and Long, he said, "I know you." I said, "And I know you." He said, "I did not like the way you depicted my brother in 3 and Out." And I said, "Fair enough." And he said, "However, Jerry said he wants me to talk to you, and I will." I said in the acknowledgments, if you look at Fourth and Long, in the acknowledgments, I respected both his family loyalty and his professionalism at that time. And Zach, you're only an undergraduate at that time. So Zach, once again, your family loyalty as well as your professionalism, hats off.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. No, I remember it. We had a good conversation. I've read the book, turned out really well. So no, I appreciate all your hard work in that book. See, you can write about the Buckeyes sometimes. It's not all about Michigan.
Look,
there's no doubt about that.
Yeah. Well, look, you got to respect it. And what they've done, what you have done, bring up the academics at Ohio State. Man, it's the most competitive school now in the state of Ohio.
No doubt. Next to Case Western.
Well, the Case Western's damn good, of course, also. But also, I had an event in Ohio, the diabetes, the great debate.
Yeah.
Down in Ohio. And I saw Zach and Mike, and I had to go up to Mike Boren.
Yep.
And said, "I have to say something about your son, Zach." And told him the same story. I said, "You raised a man."
Yep. No doubt. So you think? So I coined Zach here, one of Bo's boys. Do you think that's appropriate?
I'm sure Bo would claim it.
Yeah, he would.
I said, "Damn it, kid, you went to the wrong school."
And Zach would say, "Well, you left us. So you left us with limited options."
Your dad's line on that one. No, it's always, "You're a Michigan man. You just didn't realize that in time."
That's the whole story behind Justin going to Michigan. But Shemy, you know that story. It was came down to it wasn't Lloyd Carr's an awesome man, love him to death. Andy Moeller, great coach, one of my dad's best friends.
Until he changes his mind.
Yeah, well, it was Bo Schembechler, who's the one who recruited Justin to Michigan, and is the one who got him to commit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was it.
It's off for 2.5 hours.
It was a 2.5 hour conversation in his office up at Schembechler Hall. My dad, myself, Justin. Justin was about to commit to Ohio State. We sat in there for 2.5 hours. Little did we know, my dad and Bo talked on a weekly basis. So Bo said, bring him up here. So we sat there for 2.5 hours. Day later, Justin commits to University of Michigan.
Yeah.
That was it.
Well, I think it's funny because even that relationship goes through the draft, because even after he transferred down to Ohio State, he gets drafted by the Baltimore Ravens of none other than John Harbaugh.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, and Andy Moeller was the O-line coach.
I was going to lead into that. So, small world
there's a lot of wires back and forth, no question about it. Zach, I'd say it worked out very well for you at Ohio State.
Yep.
It did. You always think it's funny how it'd be different if the Boren family were Michigan men, but hey, it was a fun ride.
Exactly.
I can answer that question, Zach. They would have won more games.
Probably a couple more championships.
I noticed that Zach's got some large, chunky rings, by the way. So
yes, he does.
You were in those.
Yeah, he's not shy in wearing them on the show either. All right.
Shemy, I haven't worn them one day in my life, believe it or not.
Really?
Never. One day. I've not worn them. I literally got them that day, and they sit in a case that is at my parents' that I have never had.
Right. All right. Good. Excellent.
I'll tell you what, though. You've got one ring that your brother and your dad don't have.
What is that?
And that's the national title, correct?
No, that's my little brother. God, every time we're together, you rub something in.
So you graduated in 2013?
No, 12.
2012. So that was your last season then when I met you.
So 2014 was you're thinking of the youngest born. The youngest born was a national champion.
There you go.
The center.
Nonetheless, you got a 12-0 ring.
Yeah,
that's
so bad.
true. That's true. I'll claim that as national title, right? Yeah, UCF did that this past year, didn't they? We'll claim it.
I'll tell you what, you got a much better claim than UCF does. Right. Not even close. You're playing a big boy schedule that year.
That's true.
Exactly.
That's true.
Hey, we want to take a quick break. So we have our nonprofit sponsor at elliesplace.org. We're going to get who we got on here? Monica, who runs the Ann Arbor Ellie's Place here in town.
Great.
So we're going to get Monica on here. And it's great because we're down here at the Brown Jug in Ann Arbor. So a portion of all the proceeds from every meal served here tonight, from 5 to 8, is going to be donated to Ellie's Place. That's pretty cool. All right, let's catch a quick break, and we will get Monica on the other side. All right? The Rivalry Classic. Go Blue. Beat Ohio.
Go Bucks.
If you're a Michigan Wolverine fan, you know there is only one place to go to get all the latest and greatest Michigan and blue gear from Nike and Jordan brand. That place is, of course, the M-Den, the official merchandise retailer of Michigan Athletics. Make the M-Den your one-stop shop for all your University of Michigan apparel needs. Visit the M-Den today online at www.mden.com. Go Blue.
This is Doug Worthington, former Ohio State captain, and I'm at The College Traditions, where they have the official Nike apparel that the college players and the coaches wear on the sideline. College Tradition has the flags, they have the decals for the cars, they have everything to show your Buckeye pride. Come down, Buckeye Nation. College Tradition has a range for your feline friends and your canine pups that you can come and get them laced up in some of the best Buckeye gear. Being 6'6", 305 pounds, it is hard to find gear in my size. College Traditions have up to 5X in some of your best Buckeye gear. Come get you a lid, curve up that dome with the best hack selection in Columbus, Ohio. College Tradition, all the great apparel, all the great gear, and things for your man cave. Come down, check us out.
At Power Bar, we know you get what you put in. You get the energy and the excitement, the encouragement and the escape, the friendship and the loyalty. You get everything you need and nothing you don't. That's why Power Bar is back with remixed recipes and all new products to help you power on and savor every moment. Welcome to the new us.
Hi, my name is Crystal, and I'm a private client advisor with one of the leading insurance intermediaries for highly successful individuals. Because of our size, we have powerful partnerships with the industry's premier carriers. I specialize in leveraging these relationships to find my clients the most efficient and effective insurance solutions at the best prices. Don't miss out on this opportunity. A consultation with me is at no cost to you. Whether it be for your business or your personal insurance needs, you earned it, now let me help you protect it.
Welcome back, the Rivalry Classic Football Show from here in the Brown Jug in beautiful Ann Arbor, Michigan, the greatest college town in the United States of America. We have the great Monica.
Branchow.
I'm sorry, Branchow. So you got it. You got it on that. Branchow. Monica, the fearless leader of the Ellie's Place here in Ann Arbor, our proud partner. We love raising money for you guys. All right.
We love you guys.
I made a donation last week. I was pretty excited about it. Talk to us about, obviously, we like to talk about your mission.
Yes.
And talk to us about how the fundraising drive is going now.
Yeah.
Can you do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're actually in the midst of a capital campaign right now.
Mm-hmm.
We are building our own permanent home, which is amazing. It's an insurance policy for our.
And where's that, by the way?
Yeah, so that's going to be at 5665 Hines Drive, which is off of State Street, heading south towards Saline.
Within minutes of here.
It is within minutes of here, about a 10-minute drive.
Awesome.
And if you know where Gym America is, it's just right down the road from that. The building is being built as we speak. And so
wonderful.
It's a really cool time to get involved with the campaign because we're matching dollar for dollar the Beer Foundation, which is an amazing foundation that's been around the Ann Arbor area forever. Right. Mm-hmm. Very generous. And they're matching dollar for dollar up to $75,000 for the campaign. So this is a great time.
Does that mean they match my donation?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Just doubled it right
hey,
now.
every little bit counts now.
Doubled it
I
up.
don't know what you gave, but now it's twice as much.
Exactly.
It's twice as much.
Exactly.
So elliesplaceannarbor.org is where you can go to do that.
Awesome. That's great. And so I love talking about, because obviously I lost my parents at a pretty young age. I lost my mom when I was still in college. Wow. And if not for Bo, I would have had a lot of issues. And this is where Ellie's Place could have been a very valuable resource. And so considering all the challenges for people within Washtenaw County as well as throughout the state of Michigan, what you guys do is critically important for young people.
That's true. So we know actually Brian Greasy. Yep. Everybody knows Brian Greasy.
I recruited him.
There you go. So he started a place like Ellie's Place called Judy's House in Denver, Colorado. Yep. And his mom is Judy.
Yep.
And he knew that he needed a place like an Ellie's Place or like a Judy's House when he was young. And he talks often about kind of the trouble that he got into when he was in college and how a lot of that had to do with his unresolved grief. Right. And so Judy's House actually does what we do, but then they also have this research arm. And they recently just did this amazing research where they looked at every single state in the entire country to see what the grieving rates were. And interestingly, Michigan was one of the highest states in the country. And we now know that 1 in 12 kids will experience the death of a parent before they turn 18. It's the death of a parent or a sibling. So if you think about 1 in 12, that's huge. It's thousands of kids just in this area. So the need of what we do is immense, and it's never going to go away.
Right. No doubt about that. So obviously you guys are located primarily in the state of Michigan. Mm-hmm. We were talking last week about potential expansion into other areas. Now, obviously, you have to plan out long in advance in order to do that. But do you guys have goals and aspirations to get beyond the state lines?
So right now, our goal is really focused on Michigan, and our vision is that no child in Michigan will grieve alone. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of pockets in Michigan that don't have an Ellie's Place, like the way western area, like Kalamazoo, definitely the Upper Peninsula, some of the northern areas of Michigan, or like the Thumb area of Michigan.
Right.
So, and even like the Wayne County, Detroit area doesn't even have quite anything like an Ellie's Place. So there's a lot of places that we can go to in Michigan, but I guess if we conquer all of Michigan,
Right.
then there potentially could be,
Yeah.
more Midwest expansion beyond that.
No doubt. No doubt. Well, because I've lived in Columbus for the last 17 years. Would you imagine ever going to Columbus, Ohio?
It might happen. You did it. Right?
That is correct. That is correct. But there's some caveats that are involved with that. Since I moved there, our team hasn't fared very well. And so I think they tolerate me for that reason.
There you go.
Okay. I think once Coach Harbaugh turns the tables around, we start getting life figured out, I think I'm going to get my ticket out of town. They'll send me out of here. I've been explaining this to my wife for a long time now. But
start egging your house.
Yeah. Well, we don't hang any flags out there. We live about as incognito as humanly possible. So
you have to survive.
Yeah. But we'll see how this podcast may cause me some issues. Well, good. Outstanding. So how's the fundraising drive going? What is our goal, number one?
Yeah, so for the campaign, our goal is $7.6 million, and we've raised about $6.1 million,
Awesome.
which is awesome.
Now, what's the timetable to get this done?
So we're hoping to raise the money as quickly as possible, but the building's being built, and they anticipate it will be done by May or June.
Wow.
So we're looking to move in next summer and have a big grand opening. You'll all be invited.
So we just need $1.5 million to get it done, right?
Yeah, $1.5 million.
Okay.
Just $1.5 million.
Well, all I know is and you remember this well, John, when they were building Schembechler Hall, and Bo raised all the money for Schembechler Hall. It was amazing how prolific he was in securing funds, because it was right after he retired. You know what? No, because he did it while he was still coaching, in all honesty. I remember.
He did some of the fundraising then.
That's right.
The Towsleys came through in a big way, of course.
In a big way, yes.
The first and biggest check, I believe.
I remember sitting in that meeting at the Rose Bowl, actually.
Really?
Yes. Yeah.
Margaret
Dow and
like you said
all
earlier,
the daughters.
It's all based on relationships, and he had them.
Yeah, he had plenty of those. And so for him to do that type of fundraising in that amount of time, not to mention what he did for the Millie Fund for cancer research. We just need a Herculean effort such as that, but it seems like we're really close.
Yeah, we're very close,
Right.
and we just went public just in July, so so it's really been kind of in that silent phase. Interestingly, Towsley Foundation has supported the Ellie's campaign too, which is great.
Wonderful.
But definitely anybody that's interested in learning more and wanting to give can reach out to me or you, or find me through you.
Definitely. Well, let me at least announce this, okay? And I might get into a little bit of trouble with this, okay? It's my birthday on Monday, all right? And so they do all these fundraising things on social media. So I'm going to make Ellie's Place my official fundraiser for my birthday, if that's okay with you guys.
Awesome.
All right?
And then Facebook's even donates to you if you do a birthday fundraiser.
I'm going to do one through them too. I'm going to figure all these social media outlets out so we can do that. All right? So now, so people can raid my Facebook page and figure it out how to make a donation. Okay? That's awesome.
Thank you. That's awesome.
Yep. So anyway, well, hey, we appreciate it. Anything else you want to share with our fans out here watching the Rivalry Show? Yeah.
So we have one of our biggest events coming up on October 17th, the morning of October 17th at 8 a.m. at the Marriott Eagle Crest. It's our annual breakfast. And this year, you may recognize some of the names. One of our former families who's going to be speaking is Coach Ramsey, who was the assistant basketball coach here at University of Michigan, and then was the head basketball coach at Eastern Michigan.
Right.
And, him and his sons attended Ellie's Place after his wife died. So he's going to be speaking about that experience. The other former family that's going to be talking is Susan Torrable-Spohr. Her husband, Martin, died in the plane that crashed in Lake Michigan about 10 years ago with all of the doctors. He was one of the doctors on the plane.
Right.
Her kids are now 10 years out from Ellie's Place, but they're going to be able to share how even way after attending Ellie's Place continues to have an impact on their life. So really excited about that. It is free to attend our breakfast. We do make an ask, and that's where the fundraising comes in. But if you're interested in attending, again, you can reach out to me which is mbrancho, brancheau at elliesplace.org.
And they'll find you on the website. They can
so we're
email
on the
you
website.
through the website.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or find Shemy, and Shemy will find me.
Well, exactly. Former NFL scout, we know how to connect the dots from time to time.
That's
so
right.
hopefully we'll be able to figure that out. Well, Monica, thank you so much for coming on the show. We're going to continue this fundraising drive. I think our goal should be by the first of the year, we're going to get all this done. You think it's possible?
I think it is.
Yeah.
Especially people at the end of the year.
My dad was always a guy. Let's set high goals and go achieve them. All right.
That's right.
So I think there's no reason why we can't do that here.
Awesome.
Right?
Thank you so much for having me on.
All right. Thanks, Monica. All right. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to talk a little bit more football. We're going to see if Bacon can keep up with the football guys about football. All right. All right. Rivalry Classic Football Show. Go Blue. If you're a Michigan Wolverine fan, you know there is only one place to go to get all the latest and greatest Michigan and blue gear from Nike and Jordan brand. That place is, of course, the M-Den, the official merchandise retailer of Michigan Athletics. Make the M-Den your one-stop shop for all your University of Michigan apparel needs. Visit the M-Den today online at www.mden.com. Go Blue.
This is Doug Worthington, former Ohio State captain, and I'm at The College Traditions, where they have the official Nike apparel that the college players and the coaches wear on the sideline. College Tradition has the flags, they have the decals for the cars, they have everything to show your Buckeye pride. Come down, Buckeye Nation. College Tradition has a range for your feline friends and your canine pups that you can come and get them laced up in some of the best Buckeye gear. Being 6'6", 305 pounds, it is hard to find gear in my size. College Traditions have up to 5X in some of your best Buckeye gear. Come get you a lid, curve up that dome with the best hack selection in Columbus, Ohio. College Tradition, all the great apparel, all the great gear, and things for your man cave. Come down, check us out.
At Power Bar, we know you get what you put in. You get the energy and the excitement, the encouragement and the escape, the friendship and the loyalty. You get everything you need and nothing you don't. That's why Power Bar is back with remixed recipes and all new products to help you power on and savor every moment. Welcome to the new us.
Hi, my name is Crystal, and I'm a private client advisor with one of the leading insurance intermediaries for highly successful individuals. Because of our size, we have powerful partnerships with the industry's premier carriers. I specialize in leveraging these relationships to find my clients the most efficient and effective insurance solutions at the best prices. Don't miss out on this opportunity. A consultation with me is at no cost to you. Whether it be for your business or your personal insurance needs, you earned it, now let me help you protect it.
Welcome back. Rivalry Classic Football Show from the Brown Jug in Ann Arbor, Michigan. I love this place, don't you, John?
Huh? I have for a long, long time.
For a long time. Ever since your college days, huh?
Even before that, Sunday hockey mornings, and you recall those from your own childhood?
No doubt. I wasn't that good, though.
Stop here for Sunday brunch.
Yeah. They kept me on defense because I couldn't skate.
Not a bad plan in that case.
Exactly. Well, hey, now, Boren, hey, that was an interesting ball game last weekend. There is no doubt that the Ohio State Buckeyes have proven their worth as a national power. But I think we found a couple warts, particularly on the defensive side of the ball. Would you like to share some insights on that?
It was. Do you know what? They've been giving up way too many big plays this year. I don't think from a defense standpoint they have a bad defense. They have just given up the big play to Oregon State. You saw it, and now this past week against TCU. I think they're playing sound. They're running around. They're flying to the football. There's been at least 2 plays every game now where they just are not gap sound. And it's as simple as a zone run, as you saw in the 93-yard touchdown, record-breaking touchdown, right? Well, it is a zone run
Zach, they checked into that play. And they had a numbers advantage into the boundary on that play. Remember?
They did, but the linebacker filled left when he should have filled straight up in the gap right in front of him. There was a gap that Shemy Schembechler could have ran 93 yards for a touchdown in.
There's no way in hell that was going to happen.
Come on,
you
Shemy.
know better than
but
that.
No, it's from it's just guys that Malik Harrison in that standpoint needed to go up and fill the A gap, and he didn't. Right. He went left, playing behind Draymond Jones, which he had no reason to be over there. And they gashed him for 93 yards. I think they made great adjustments in the second half. I think the first half, the no-huddle, up-tempo was giving them a little bit of a challenge. But you saw them make adjustments in the second half, show a little bit more blitz, come back. They were putting the TCU offense, they were getting them on their toes because they knew the TCU offense was checking from one play to another in the first half. They were showing different looks in the second half and checking. The defense was checking out of them or showing a look and doing something else. And I really think you saw Ohio State find kind of their rhythm in the second half against a very, very, very good TCU offense.
I couldn't agree more. Go ahead, John.
No, that's it, basically. And, a few awards here and there, big play stuff, which the way, obviously, the Buckeyes want to go, which is Final Four and all that, you can't be doing that against the big boys, obviously, the Alabamas and whatnot. Nonetheless, right now there's one marquee team in the Big Ten, and right now it's the Buckeyes.
Yep, no doubt about it. Now, here's my other concern, and I talked about this last week. Tough Boren is so important to that defense because I see the other linebackers are not nearly as instinctual in terms of key and diagnose, chase play down, all right? They could actually use you back on the team down there, Boren. You know that, don't you?
Are you giving me a compliment right now, Shemy?
Yes, I am, based on instincts alone, all right?
Hey,
now,
don't waste it.
Hey, that may be the first one you've given me on this show.
The rest of those cats, but the bottom line is at least we can get you lined up and taking the right gap, right, buddy?
Yeah. No. Shemy, I could line it up again. I'm shocked at the compliment you gave me. That's the first one I've ever gotten on the show.
You're a Bose boy. Why would you be shocked?
Yeah, because your dad didn't give it too many compliments either.
Goodness gracious, man. Now, here's the other thing, and this is what bothers me. See, I think the Ohio State secondary, they got so many great athletes that understand how to roll up on coverage and cover man-to-man. I think one of the things they struggle with, and this went all the way through the third quarter, getting your head around to the ball when they're running routes in the middle of the field.
Yeah.
Right? That number one was open all day long until the fourth quarter, in my estimation. And you have to coach guys, especially when you're locked up in man coverage, is understanding at the break point when the ball is going to come and focusing on that wide receiver's eyes to know when they get wide. You got to get your head around and break on the ball. I didn't see enough of that out of the Ohio State secondary.
No, I agree with you. There's still some guys playing that are young. You still have three guys that played a lot of minutes Saturday night that are first-year starters, first-year role players. So there's still some guys. That's a huge stage for some of those guys. Having their first time, really going out there. I think it comes down to what you touched on, Shemy. We talked about it last week. The Ohio State linebackers, they have to have Tough Borland in there every single snap because the other guys, just from an instinctual standpoint, don't have it. From an athletic standpoint, they are heads and shoulders above Tough Borland. Not saying he's unathletic. He's a great linebacker. But from an instinctual standpoint, in a big game like that, you have to have someone out there who can control the defense and be in the middle, and you saw them go away from that, and that's when the big plays happened. Tough Borland was not in there on the two big plays that TCU had, and I think he makes a world of difference for them.
No doubt. And here's the thing. Tough Borland, he's going to play in the NFL longer than all those guys, if you ask me, because he's reliable.
I would agree with you.
I'd be willing to take a guy who's a step slower that understands the game and how run fits and how to take proper angles on the perimeter and who's productive. Like, everybody in the NFL talks about this on a consistent basis. You cannot deny production, and instincts always lead to production. I scouted plenty of guys that played in the back half that couldn't run a lick. And yet they found ways to make 10-year careers in some situations, even safeties. So I don't think anybody should ever underestimate Tough Boren if he's not as fast or athletic as the guys that are with him. He's a better football player overall.
Yeah, no, completely agree with you. He almost reminds me of like a Sean Lee. Right, Sean Lee.
Yes.
Sean Lee will not.
Penn State Nittany Lions.
Yeah, will not blow you out of the water athletically. Yep. But he can run sideline to sideline, and instinctual. He makes himself faster on the football field.
No doubt. Yeah, and there's play speed. There's things called play speed in the National Football League.
Yep.
You got bacon?
I got that one, Shem.
Right.
There sure is. Shemy, now aside from the defense, we saw that. How good is that Ohio State offense? What Dwayne Haskins does, everyone was talking, first 2 weeks, hey, playing Oregon State and Rutgers. I mean, come on, two terrible teams. What he did against that TCU defense, and they're a great team. Saturday Night Football, ABC. The guy came out and still slung it all over the field.
There's no doubt.
He looked confident. He looked poised. He was not – that's his first big stage, really.
Right.
And he seemed very calm with the whole situation, which is no small thing, which is why, of course, Ohio State, give them credit, they in their 3 non-conference games, they always play somebody big.
Right.
They play Alabama or Texas or somebody, and that's why you do this, because you'll see things in these games you will not see against Oregon State.
Now I've been all over Gene Smith down through the years because I think they do Patsy schedule, but he does a good job putting the tough games in the proper position to get warmed up in the first 2 games so you kind of know who you are. I'm so impressed with Ohio State and the quarterback play, the wide receiver play, other than the fact we had number 11 with too many drops in the first half. That, to me, was the only issue with the Ohio State offense. Everything else I thought was simply outstanding.
Yeah, but listen, it happens. Drops happen. We know that.
Yeah, but
people have the case of the drops.
But they don't have to happen. All right, there's guys like me.
No.
They're starting receivers, and when you drop the ball, especially the one you should be catching.
I completely agree with you. But this is why I stand here saying that there isn't an issue, is because in the second half they came back to him. And when they came back to him, he made the plays in the second half. If the halves were switched and he ended the game with all those drops, then we would be questioning, hey, there's an issue. But when the game was on the line in the second half and Ohio State was making their push and really taking off away from TCU, he was making the plays that needed to be made.
Right. I agree. Now, on the converse, you guys got to understand this. I have such high regard for Coach Patterson as a defensive mind, all right? I would put him up there with Don Brown in terms of calling up blitzes and gap blitzes and how to fill up gaps using different types of pressures and red zone, fire zone, all those different things. For Ohio State to diagnose that defense the way they did, particularly in the second half, is what makes the Ohio State defense. See, they're going to go into Happy Valley in 2 weeks, and they're going to put 50 points on them. I'm almost certain of it.
I'll tell you what, Penn State is definitely a drop-off from last year.
Well, they lost too many guys on the defensive side of the ball, right,
they lost
Zach?
a ton of them
on the
defensive side of the ball.
They lost guys on defensive ball, and I think their biggest things, they lost a guy named Saquon Barkley.
Exactly.
Right? I mean,
that guy eats so much clock.
Right.
And
oh, my God.
The defense off 15 minutes of real time.
No doubt.
Yeah. Give me 3 plays.
Anyway,
yeah, no, they would. Yeah, exactly. Saquon was
right.
so good at chewing up clock and then hitting the big one. Now this year you see a guy who can't chew up clock, and they're trying to hit the big one all the time. And we all know from an offensive standpoint, when you just go for the big shots, the home runs, hey, that's a lot of 3 and outs, and the other team's got the ball.
And I bite you.
Right, no doubt about it. So who do we go to replace Bosa? Who's going to replace Bosa this week and in the coming weeks?
Here's a hint. Somebody good.
Yeah, but are they going to be as good?
They're reloading down there.
Yeah, doing what Jonathan Cooper was a five-star, high 4-star, 5-star, depending on where, what website it was. I don't know. The recruiting stuff's crazy nowadays, right? There's 10 different websites, 10 different rankings. Kid out of Gahanna, Ohio, actually, Central Ohio kid, played in every game last year. He's going to go out and he's going to play well. Tough kid, big, long, athletic, but they have so many defensive ends and so many D linemen that they're just going to rotate everyone to fill in for Bosa. It's going to be a defensive end by committee. We're going to see the next couple of weeks.
Yeah. One thing we're not talking about, of course, is Urban Meyer's suspension is over.
Exactly.
And for those guys to get through that 3 games, you knew TCU was the one big game, obviously.
Yep. I just think it's so anticlimactic as you're trying to get ready for Tulane. I mean, Urban Meyer returning is more important than the game this week, which is kind of sad to me.
When you're playing Tulane, it is.
Exactly.
Well, I don't know if Tulane's won a game this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that game preview is going to go by pretty fast, don't you think, Boren?
And look, the stars are out in the second half, I'm sure. But, Zach, because you played the game, when you get everybody in the game, man, Monday practice runs better. Right. So a whole lot of guys got a chance to show what they can do in front of mom and dad and all the rest. They're excited. They're pumped. and that can last several weeks to keep the rest of the team pumped up. So it does have value.
Right.
No. It definitely does. And even like if Ohio State starters can go out and put in a solid first half and have 42-0 at halftime, something like that. Guess what? It also gets you another half of rest going into Penn State next week. You get guys who aren't used
to the fact that you're getting your younger players reps, which is critically important.
Exactly, and that's what I was going to say. You're getting some guys some reps that aren't used to having game-like reps, and you never know. You go into a place like Happy Valley at night, you may need all hands on deck, and so if you can get as many reps as possible for those young guys going into a game like that, it's all the better.
I'll say also playing Penn State at night in Happy Valley is one of the most intense environments any college football player is going to face.
There's no doubt. And
those guys gear up for that stuff. Zach, you've been there.
Yep.
You know what I'm talking about? That student section is professional.
Yep. They're very good. And the other thing is, consider how Ohio State beat them last year in the fourth quarter.
Right.
I mean, that's going to leave a pretty sour taste in your mouth, and you're going to be looking for some level of payback.
No, I completely agree with you. And I mean, come on, those people are going to be ready. Happy Valley, that stadium. I mean, at night, that student section's wild. The place is going to be absolutely nuts. But Shemy, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's if the Ohio State offense can go out and put up points, if they can go out and put up 50 on Penn State and especially get ahead early, we all know what that place is like when the home team is winning or when the home team is trailing. When you jump out early, I've been there twice. Played there twice. The first time.
Here's the thing. I've been to enough places, been to enough college campuses to know what they do in those towns. The bar scene's pretty good if they end up getting pounded the earlier part of the game.
Penn State.
Happy Valley.
Well, because you're in the middle of nowhere, man. I mean,
exactly.
Columbus is a big city.
Exactly.
You got plenty of options.
So when they leave the stadium, there's only limited places
right
they can
the
go
stadium.
to.
But if you're in Happy Valley, you've driven 4 hours on average to get there.
Exactly.
So a different environment for sure. But look, the breakdown for Ohio State is pretty simple. If they can get a few games you're going to circle, Penn State, Michigan certainly.
Right.
But right now they're going to be favored in all of them.
Right.
So short of an upset, I mean, this is what they're going to – but what I love about college football is unlike the NFL, September on, you probably get worse.
Yes.
You get beat up, you lose players and so on.
Yep.
College teams, when they're well coached, get better throughout the season.
They do.
And the question is, how fast can Michigan improve between here and November, of course.
There's no doubt about that. And I think that gives a perfect segue in your view of where the Michigan team is right now, Dr. Bacon.
They're improving, and they're doing some intangible things that I like. They're unified. There's very little drama.
Yep.
All that good stuff. They got Ed Warner, crucially, from Ohio State.
Yep. Via Minnesota.
He will, made a few stops, but because the biggest weakness in the team clearly remains the offensive line.
Yep.
Shea Patterson is a crucial transfer. Without him, they're not where they are right now.
Precisely.
And he needs to leave that pocket to make those plays, and he's doing it.
Yep.
The defense has been surprising me so far as not being as solid as everyone expected.
Right.
And including SMU, obviously, in the first 7 minutes of the Notre Dame game.
Right.
You got to believe Don Brown's going to settle him down and get him going.
I agree.
And that they have to have a superior defense
for
this offense to be above average and win games.
No doubt about it.
Does it scare both of you at all that midway through the second quarter it's a 0-0 ball game and that offensive line cannot do anything?
Yeah, definitely.
It is clearly not a dominant team.
Right.
And not anywhere near it right now.
No
and
doubt.
I expected the defense at least to be dominant by now.
The thing that SMU, what they really took advantage of is Michigan's inefficiency on running on early downs. They knew we were going to try to run our early downs.
First down up the middle, second down up the middle, and third down is a desperation pass.
And the
flip side on defense, by the way, 2 stops the first 2 downs.
Right.
3rd and 8, they were not good.
Exactly. And the idea that they put them in those situations because they understand the run gaps that are vulnerable on the Michigan offensive line. All right? I can go into personnel, but I'm not going to tear down our players too much.
And I know Urban does it the same way, except talking about this. You start with your left tackle.
Right.
And you build out. Because without a left tackle, how good can your team really be?
Right. Exactly.
At that point, you can't pass, and then you can't run.
Right.
If you can't run, your defense is on the field the whole game.
Exactly.
And everything starts breaking down. Your dad used to talk to me about our system of football.
Exactly.
And I kept on saying, what do you mean your system of football? You play good defense, you run the ball. Is that a system? And then I realized when you watch the spread offense and other things, yeah, it is a system. because we're going to grind you down in the first quarter. It might be 0-0.
Exactly.
But we're on the field a lot.
Exactly.
And so are you.
Yeah.
And our defense give me 3 plays.
Exactly.
Give me 3 plays. It's what you guys are doing now at Ohio State.
And so what I love talking about is snap count, okay? Snap count, yards per carry. I mean, that's all Bo talked about when we looked at the stats at the end of the game.
Snap count and yard per carry.
Yes.
Because that means you're on the field.
Exactly. You're on the field. The defense is getting off the field. They're getting the ball for you, and you're sustaining drives. You're going on 10, 12, 15-play drives, and that takes its toll in the fourth quarter.
And Zach did both sides of the ball, of course, in the weight room plenty.
Yep.
Your first 3 reps aren't so bad. Try 30.
Exactly. No doubt about it.
Those things add up. I've been there.
No, I agree with you. I think the thing that's most frustrating for me from a Michigan perspective is, you know, a lot of these times against an SMU, or we saw at Penn State against Appalachian State, they're shootouts, right? When you have an inferior opponent against a Michigan, against Ohio State, sometimes they stay in games because of a shootout. What frustrated me the most is Michigan football is we're going to run it down your throat. We don't care if you know where it's going, but we're going to impose our will on you, and we're going to run it there, and we're going to be successful. And we didn't see that on Saturday.
Jeez.
You're right. I got to tell a story, one I think you know, the good Ed Moransky story. This is how Ohio State's line works now and works in the old days, too. You're with your dad at Michigan, of course, and Michigan's line did, too. Michigan's beating, I think, Michigan State 14-0. It's in the first quarter. It's muddy waters. They don't have much.
Yep.
And it's first and goal from the 3-yard line. They break the huddle a little too soon. The signals are a little sloppy. So kind of Smiley Cresswell, Michigan State defensive end, thinks that he figures out the play. And he's yelling to all his teammates, it's off tackle right, it's off tackle right, it's off tackle right. And Big Ed Moransky saunters up to the line and says, that's right, Smiley. It's off tackle right. It's coming right over your sorry butt, not a damn thing you can do about it.
Exactly.
And he gets down, he goes, oh, yeah, it's on 3. That's exactly what you're talking about. You know what happens next, of course. A hole. Cresswell goes, 8 yards that way. I could have walked backwards to that hole.
Exactly.
And that's, like you said, exactly what you said, Zach. In the old days, you know you're coming, so stop it. And they could impose their will.
No doubt.
It's not happening right now.
Well, you know what, Bacon, that provides a perfect segue. I've been clamoring for our offensive tackles to get these young tackles on the field. All right. What do you think about Mayfield and our young friend Hudson?
I think that what Warner said about this is true. Probably about 8 guys or so filtering through the 5 spots. The question: at what point do you value seniority versus what the future is going to look like?
Right.
And they're improving on offensive line, but I mean, look at these guys. Look at John Jansen, man, from '97. Look at Jake Long. These guys are looking a foot over my head.
Right.
The current guys are almost looking at my eyes.
Yep.
And you should be looking over my head. Yeah, I'm 5'8".
Yep.
So right there, it's been, I think, a neglected position.
Right.
Compared to other positions.
Well, we've had problems with it in recruiting based on years past, because I will say until the day I die that John Runyon needs to move inside and play guard, okay? I agree with you.
You might get your wish.
Yeah, sooner as opposed to later, I hope. And here's the thing. When Bo was coaching, we had so much depth on the offensive line. We could go 3, 4, 5 deep at the offensive tackle spot, all right? And you had the luxury of developing young players.
Right.
It is significantly different when you have 85, all right? And when you know that you have a talent discrepancy from your starters to your backups, you have to make decisions that are in the best interest of the team, all right? If you can upgrade a position with a younger player, you cannot evaluate it based on seniority like you used to, all right? And that's why I've been clamoring for these young tackles to start, because I think there is a decided talent difference in both of them, in all honesty, all right? Nothing against Runyon and Bashel Beatty, but when it comes time to upgrade, and if you have to go through a few growing pains to get to that point, that's a risk I think you have to take.
Well, the film don't lie, as they say, and you're about to get a whole lot of it.
I watch a lot.
Well, I think the other, Shemy, the other thing is, too, you have, even if you put in young tackles, you have a phenomenal quarterback who's very athletic, that if there is some breakdown, guess what? He has their back. He can make some plays and be able to scramble out of the pocket. So it's not all life or death. It was Saturday. How many times was Shea Patterson scrambling already? Is it going to be any worse with younger tackles in there?
Right.
And right now, you're
preaching to the choir here, Boren.
And Zach hit the nail on the head. The saving grace right now is Shea Patterson.
Yeah.
Who not only has got a great arm and he's been very accurate, but he can leave the pocket every 3 seconds, which usually is what he has to do. The guy I tell you right now, one of the best blockers they've got right now at Michigan, is True Wilson.
Yes,
the backup running back who took out several blitzes to give Shea the 3 or 4 rare chances he had to throw downfield in a big 5 seconds back there. So.
And I want to, it's actually
that guy is about my size.
It's actually good if Higdon and Evans are listening to this conversation. Okay.
You got to get some blocking, obviously, but you're right. Zach hit the nail on the head.
Yep.
That Shea is the saving grace so far.
Right.
Well, he's probably the best quarterbacks Michigan had since what? Chad Henne?
That's what I would say.
Yep.
Yeah.
Based on 3 games so far, but
the thing I like about Evans, and he's even better than Henne in this way, is when his accuracy on the run. Huh?
You mean Patterson.
Patterson.
Yeah.
His accuracy on the run is better than what we've had in many, many years.
I agree with that. The receiving core seems to be much better this year than last year.
Yeah, I think Donovan Peoples-Jones has taken a certain step in the right direction.
And, of course, you got Gentry and McEwen on tight end.
Yep, absolutely.
And by the way, find me the great Buckeye or Michigan team that was not throwing the ball to the tight end on a regular basis, because those guys never drop the ball and they fall down and get 5.
Exactly.
That's an old school.
Well, Gentry's tall enough.
I agree with you.
Boom.
Exactly.
Totally.
Exactly. Well, hey, do you have to run?
I do.
All right. We appreciate the great John U. Bacon. Hey, we want people to get these books, The Great Halifax Explosion, Select Cuts. There's going to be a lot of select cuts out of the boat book in that book, isn't there?
The story when I met your dad in '96 as an adult and spent a week with him.
Right.
So you and I started talking again and followed your dad around for a week. That was a ton of fun. That's in that book as well.
No doubt.
Everybody
run out and get it.
And by the way, I got to tell you, Zach, and his love for Woody Hayes ran deep.
Oh.
If I wanted to get Bo jacked up.
How do you think I live in Columbus in peace?
But Bo was really a Buckeye man. But I think deep down, Bo was really a Buckeye guy.
Spell your name, you know that.
Exactly right.
It's one of the rare places in America they can spell Schembechler off the top of their head.
No doubt.
So, yeah, exactly. But, hey, my experience with Buckeye fans, I got to tell you flat out, that next to this parking lot, the one in Columbus, I can stop more often than they do in any other Big Ten stop.
No doubt.
They know their history. They watch the Big Ten Network. They read the books.
Yep.
And they have smart things to say to you. I've been very well received by the Buckeye fans.
Yep.
They respect the rivalry.
Right.
And
well,
that's everything.
Our dear friend, the great Jack Park, one of our all-time favorite Buckeyes.
Who does not like Jack Park?
Nobody.
By the way?
And if they don't like him, I want to punch them in the face.
You don't need to, because everyone likes the guy, and he's encyclopedic.
Oh my goodness,
he is unbelievable.
He has no enemies, Shemy.
Well, huh?
He has no enemies.
And by the way, in this rivalry, that's impossible.
Exactly.
And he's pulled it off.
No doubt.
Zach, you're right.
No doubt. So anyway, hey, go check out johnnubacon.com, right?
Please do. And
get
Twitter
the books over there, Twitter
and all that. You got it.
Right, absolutely. Amazon.
All that stuff.
You name it.
Hey, Zach, a pleasure.
Yep.
See a lot of my friends in Columbus.
Thank you.
Right.
We appreciate it.
Awesome. All right, we're ready to take a break. Thanks, John.
Thanks.
The Rivalry Classic Football Show. Go Blue.
Go Bucks.
If you're a Michigan Wolverine fan, you know there is only one place to go to get all the latest and greatest Michigan and blue gear from Nike and Jordan brand. That place is, of course, the M-Den, the official merchandise retailer of Michigan Athletics. Make the M-Den your one-stop shop for all your University of Michigan apparel needs. Visit the M-Den today online at www.mden.com. Go Blue.
This is Doug Worthington, former Ohio State captain, and I'm at The College Traditions, where they have the official Nike apparel that the college players and the coaches wear on the sideline. College Tradition has the flags, they have the decals for the cars, they have everything to show your Buckeye pride. Come down, Buckeye Nation. College Tradition has a range for your feline friends and your canine pups that you can come and get them laced up in some of the best Buckeye gear. Being 6'6", 305 pounds, it is hard to find gear in my size. College Traditions have up to 5X in some of your best Buckeye gear. Come get you a lid, curve up that dome with the best hack selection in Columbus, Ohio. College Tradition, all the great apparel, all the great gear, and things for your man cave. Come down, check us out.
At Power Bar, we know you get what you put in. You get the energy and the excitement, the encouragement and the escape, the friendship and the loyalty. You get everything you need and nothing you don't. That's why Power Bar is back with remixed recipes and all new products to help you power on and savor every moment. Welcome to the new us.
Hi, my name is Crystal, and I'm a private client advisor with one of the leading insurance intermediaries for highly successful individuals. Because of our size, we have powerful partnerships with the industry's premier carriers. I specialize in leveraging these relationships to find my clients the most efficient and effective insurance solutions at the best prices. Don't miss out on this opportunity. A consultation with me is at no cost to you. Whether it be for your business or your personal insurance needs, you earned it, and now let me help you protect it.
Welcome back, the Rivalry Classic Football Show from up here at the Brown Jug in Ann Arbor, Michigan. This is the greatest sports bar in the entire city of Ann Arbor. We want to thank all the folks, Perry Poricos here at the Brown Jug, for having us in here. The great Zach Boren in Columbus, Ohio. It's amazing we can do a show from Ann Arbor, Michigan, and Columbus, Ohio at the same time, isn't it?
I know, on the Great Polaris Parkway.
Exactly. Anyway, so I want to go into some review with this Michigan Wolverine team, and we did touch upon it earlier in the show, but I want to go into a little bit more detail. We have to figure out how to get big yardage on early downs because teams are starting to figure out the Michigan offense a little too much for me, where they're bringing 7-8 guys in the box. They're understanding where our weaknesses are in terms of gap scheme. And because we have Shea Patterson, and it's kind of sacrilege when you get a Schembechler talking in this way, is throwing on early downs, all right? If we can get slide protection and move Shea Patterson to the outside of the pocket where you're going to give him multiple options, I think that's when he is the most effective, all right? He's not the tallest guy in the world. He's right about 6'1" and change. But he's athletic, and he's got excellent instincts on when to escape the pocket and make plays. And I think where we are with our receiving core, we're developing a very sound receiving core in my mind. And with Donovan Peoples-Jones having the production that he's had so far this season and in the last game, I can be comfortable at this juncture being somewhat of a pass-first team so we can run later. What do you think, Zach?
Yeah, I think it comes back to what we talked about last week, though. It's the play calling needs to be more creative. They have to be able to start doing different things on the early downs to set them up better for third down. Exactly what you just talked about. Right. Michigan is so predictable right now from an offensive standpoint. Run, pass. They know exactly what's going on, or even the pass plays are cut and dry. They're black and white. The run plays, there's nothing to them. From an offensive play calling standpoint, they just aren't doing themselves any favors, and they're getting behind on third down. It's really hard to complete 3rd and 7s and 3rd and 8s time and time again.
Drives me nuts. But I think where we are depth wise, I mean we have a great depth at tight end. We got 3 guys we can throw the ball to, and the other thing is, I'm wondering why we don't get the ball to Mason, all right, out in the flat. I've seen him catch the ball. I know he can catch it. The other thing is, if we put Mason, who's our fullback, and he's a very accomplished fullback. In many ways, he reminds me of you, Boren, playing fullback.
That's compliment number 2, Shemy. I appreciate it.
That's fine. I mean, this might be it for the show since you're leaving at 7:30, but that's okay. But he understands how to play with flat back and how to gain leverage on contact.
Yeah.
And I would be totally comfortable if we had decided that we're going to go into a pro-style formation, which I know we do on occasion, and run ISO. All right? We can run ISO straight at them.
That's Michigan football.
I know that.
And from a Michigan offense standpoint, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you want to do. Your best offense is having your 11 best personnel on the field. And I think you're right. I watched him this past week. I love him as a fullback. Great fullback. Plays with great leverage. Plays with great power. Does a lot of same shoulder, same leg hitting. He is a great fullback. If he's one of your best 11, get him on the field and form your offense around what he does and what the offense is going to look like with him on the field.
Exactly. And so my hope is to get him involved in the offensive program a little bit more. And the idea, I think a lot of teams perceive him as just a run blocker only. And I remember from games from last year how effective he was to the flat. And if we can get 5, 6, 7 yards to the flat on him and get us in situations where we're second and third and short, just the flexibility that you would provide Shea Patterson under that scenario would be unbelievable, because you're giving him a run-pass option.
Yep.
And getting those guys involved and getting the wide receivers involved, I think, is critically important. The other thing is, and we've talked about this ad nauseum, the tackle situation, all right? I have a feeling that once we get started in the Big Ten Conference, and I think Nebraska is the perfect opponent to start that with, is because I watched Nebraska play against Troy last week. They are not the best tackling team, all right? And,
no, but
we'll
go
ahead.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, I don't mean to cut you off, but this Nebraska team scares me a little bit. And I know you guys are sitting up there in Ann Arbor thinking, hey, this is a good week to get these young tackles in. Nebraska's looked really bad their first 2 games, which they have. I'm not denying that. But this Scott Frost football team, I think at some point the light bulb's going to go off. And I think them going 0-2 and losing to the teams they did and the way they did, that light bulb's going to go off sooner than later. And honestly, I think the best thing for them and the worst thing for opponents is them going on the road against the University of Michigan this Saturday, because you're not playing Colorado. You're not playing Troy. This is a big game. Their first time ever going on the road. That light bulb can switch. And if Martinez comes back, the freshman quarterback, if he comes back and he's able to play, that team's going to be dangerous down the stretch in the Big Ten.
Make no mistake, Martinez is going to play. That's my prediction from the onset here. Now, understand he is a true freshman, all right? He is the only scholarship quarterback on the entire roster, all right? If you listen to Scott Frost and listen to him talk, he does not want to risk further injury in the first Big Ten game of the season, all right?
I agree with you.
So I'm of the opinion, and he is a dynamic, dangerous quarterback. He's athletic. He's got size. He throws a very catchable ball that's accurate. But I don't know how much he is willing to risk putting him in situations where he has to pass, because the Nebraska offensive line has already proven that they're not very efficient in pass protection, all right? Teams have come off the edge and closed on that quarterback. He's been running for his life. And this is by far the best defense that he's going to face in the Michigan Wolverines coming in here, understanding their deficiencies and their issues. But I have a feeling that Don Brown is going to bring the heat in a big way, understanding the weaknesses of those Nebraska offensive tackles. Those tackles are worse than Michigan's. Okay, Zach?
Yeah. No, I'm not arguing that.
And make no mistake, Frost is thinking about that. All right. And he's going to do everything he can to try to protect the quarterback. And you know what that tells me? They're gonna pull back the playbook, and they're going to be more conservative than one you would think.
But see, that's where I beg to differ with you.
Okay.
I think Scott Frost, we've seen what he did at UCF. We saw what he did at Oregon when he was at Oregon.
Yep.
He's going to be so creative when it comes from a offensive standpoint. We all did. We saw the Colorado game as a somewhat fluke, right? They were ahead the entire game. Colorado comes back at the last minute.
And that's a bad Colorado team, by the way.
I know. But still, this Troy game, I think, sent some shockwaves to Scott Frost and that coaching staff that they need to be more creative, especially on the offensive side of the ball, in being able to get the ball into the end zone. And with them, they know what they have on the offensive line. But hey, that UCF team wasn't overpowering that Auburn team that they played in the bowl game last year. So Scott Frost knows what it's like to play with a inferior offensive line against a very good defense. He's had to do it at almost every stop he's had. He's going to be creative and do what he can to put that Michigan defense in bad situations. Whereas on the flip side, the Michigan offense isn't doing that right now. They are not putting strain on any defense that they're going up against.
I agree. Well, we'll see what happens. All right. Now, I'm of the opinion if we can take our safeties. Oh, this is funny. So Michigan got this big commitment, this Dax Hill. Have you seen him play?
I have not seen him play. I saw the commitment. No, he's a 5-star kid out of Oklahoma.
Well, I don't care about 5 stars, any of that stuff. I put his tape on. This guy can do it all right? He can play nickel corner. He can play corner into the boundary. He can play safety. This guy is as quick and explosive and instinctive, most importantly instinctive, with his ball skills. He plays on both sides of the ball. I wish he was on our team right now, all right? And the thing I get nervous about, and this is where you do have a point, Zach, you've got some Nebraska offensive personnel, the 2 running backs who I think are really good athletes, and then you've got 3 wide receivers that are still very accomplished. Yeah, they got Rick Spielman's son, Spielman.
They do. He's a very good player.
Did you see him play?
He's a very good player.
He's a very good player. Not very big, all right? But
very
he is
good
a
player.
Dynamic returner.
Yes.
And he's a pretty darn good route runner. Now, it shouldn't shock you that he grew up in a football family and understanding all that stuff. I'm curious why he didn't end up at Ohio State.
I don't think a scholarship offer was on the table.
Really interesting.
Yeah,
but
no, Shemy, I'm not calling the upset of the Big Blue. Trust me, I'm not calling that.
Oh, I got it.
What I'm saying is, I think this game could be pretty tight. That this Nebraska team, at some point, I think Michigan's getting them at a good time. I think the team that Michigan sees this Saturday is going to be completely different than the team Ohio State sees on November 3rd.
I certainly hope and pray.
And I'm not saying that from a good thing for Ohio State. I think this team, after these first, especially this game, and moving forward, a big test, I think these guys are going to get on the right track and be a very good Big Ten football team.
Yep, I agree. I mean, the fact that they gave Frost a 5-year contract, he's going to build that program, make no mistake.
Oh.
And I think when you talk about the Nebraska faithful, they are so excited to have him there. I think they're going to be patient enough, considering, they haven't won in well over a decade now, in my estimation. They've been a 7-5 team, 8-4 team, pretty consistently. They've never competed for a championship. In many ways, they're the Western version of what Michigan has done up until now.
Yeah.
Now,
no.
Their personnel is worse than Michigan. Make no mistake. All right.
You are completely right with that.
I watched Troy. Those tackles couldn't block the Troy defensive ends, and I can see Don Brown bringing those linebackers off the edge. I can see Khaleke Hudson having a huge game.
Dude,
Nebraska, they haven't faced a front seven like this.
Dude, they are definitely going to bring the heat. I will. Yeah. They will.
Heat. And that quarterback's going to have to make decisions quick. All right.
Yeah.
No all right.
I think we have a question, Shemy.
Oh, we do.
Yeah.
What do we got?
Yeah, you got Tom Lasko right here. Tom, can you hear everybody?
What's the question?
I don't know. We have a caller.
Do we?
Yeah.
Tom, you there?
Yeah, I can't hear you.
I barely heard you there, Tom.
I don't know.
Anyway, well, let's wait to get them online here, and then they can ask their question.
I think it's a Michigan question. We're talking some Michigan football. I think it's a Michigan question. The Big Blue.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get the question.
I'm not sure. We're having
there.
some issues with our phones in here on Polaris Parkway in the studio.
Interesting. Okay. Well, let's get the question as soon as we can. I'll try to field it the best of my ability. Defensively, all right. Too many big plays because too many missed assignments, particularly by the safeties. All right. I'm looking at Metellus. Metellus gave up the big play on the left sideline and totally missed the assignment, turned inside when he had the outside wheel route. That was that first touchdown that just drove me nuts. And that's why I think when I talk about Dax Hill, I kind of wish he was here right now, because here's a guy that has the necessary instincts to understand how to run matchup coverage, whether he's a safety or a corner. That's kind of the things that's kind of shot us in the foot on defense. I think we've been just fine stopping the run. All of our issues have been based on the big play and limiting the big play. I'm of the opinion that we need to get a little bit more conservative in coverage because I believe we can bring pressure with 5 or 6 and bring more guys back into coverage. Now, I know that's not what Don Brown is in terms of how he's wired, but I love the idea of bringing pressure on occasion. But if we are in second and third and long situations, I'm comfortable in going quarter has where we have 3 different backs that are going to keep the ball inside and in front and let them use their eyes as opposed to playing man coverage when you can get misdirected and not react to the ball efficiently. Would you agree?
Yeah. No, No, Shemy, I completely agree with you. I think on the back end, they don't have that ball hawking safety that they really need. You know, and I think Dax Hill, you're right. I think Dax Hill from, I haven't watched any film on him, but obviously I saw the commitment. He saw pictures of him, tall, lanky, athletic, looks athletic at least. Yeah, they need that ball hawking safety in the back, and I know we've talked multiple times about some of the guys in the secondary in Michigan. This is their first time this year really having significant playing time and being starters.
I know, I agree, because most of these guys these guys are second-year starters. Make no mistake. Metellus and Cannell both started last year, and we had a couple of the same issues. Now, I'm not going to throw them under the bus because they're second-year starters, but at some point we have to develop some poise and composure and understanding our assignments, all right? I think as we get towards the midway of the season and we get into the meat of the Big Ten Conference, we have to know that if we're going to be lined up in man coverage and we've got 2 wide receivers lined up to the boundary, who's got who, all right? Because we're going to play man coverage because that's what Don Brown wants us to do. Maybe we play not rolled up coverage. We say, hey, you got the guy on the left, I got the guy on the right, and we basically treat it like it's a zone, all right, from the onset. And then we understand who's got who coming off the line of scrimmage. Make sense?
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. I totally get it. Don Brown's one of the greatest defensive minds in college football. So I totally, he's definitely going to bring heat in multiple ways. Bringing guys off the edge, bringing backers off the edge, bringing safeties off the edge, bringing corner blitz. I mean, he's going to do it all to show Nebraska. We all know that's where they're weak. They are really weak on the edge, and he's going to expose those guys in critical situations.
Yep, no doubt. And I think, and maybe experience will pay off in the end. I mean, they're getting plenty of snaps. They're getting plenty of playing time. I just think when you're developing young safeties on how to play with proper discipline, it's better to play them in zone as opposed to having to line up in man-to-man where you don't know who your assignment is per se.
Yep.
It's much easier to play a cover 2 concept, so you can branch that out, but guys are more instinctual playing off the hash. And if you can do that while still bringing the type of pressure that Don Brown wants to, you can still control the middle of the field and not give up the big play. Okay?
Yep.
All right. Do we get our question in yet?
No, we had.
If you're a Michigan Wolverine fan, you know there is only one place to go to get all the latest and greatest Michigan and blue gear from Nike and Jordan Brand. That place is, of course, the M-Den, the official merchandise retailer of Michigan Athletics. Make the M-Den your one-stop shop for all your University of Michigan apparel needs. Visit the M-Den today online at www.mden.com. Go Blue.
This is Doug Worthington, former Ohio State captain, and I'm at The College Traditions, where they have the official Nike apparel that the college players and the coaches wear on the sideline. College Tradition has the flags, they have the decals for the cars, they have everything to show your Buckeye pride. Come down, Buckeye Nation. College Tradition has a range for your feline friends and your canine pups that you can come and get them laced up in some of the best Buckeye gear. Being 6'6", 305 pounds, it is hard to find gear in my size. College Traditions has up to 5X in some of your best Buckeye gear. Come get you a lid, curve up that dome with the best hack selection in Columbus, Ohio. College Tradition, all the great apparel, all the great gear, and things for your man cave. Come down, check us out.
At Power Bar, we know you get what you put in. You get the energy and the excitement, the encouragement and the escape, the friendship and the loyalty. You get everything you need and nothing you don't. That's why Power Bar is back with remixed recipes and all new products to help you power on and savor every moment. Welcome to the new us.
Hi, my name is Crystal, and I'm a private client advisor with one of the leading insurance intermediaries for highly successful individuals. Because of our size, we have powerful partnerships with the industry's premier carriers. I specialize in leveraging these relationships to find my clients the most efficient and effective insurance solutions at the best prices. Don't miss out on this opportunity. A consultation with me is at no cost to you. Whether it be for your business or your personal insurance needs, you earned it, and now let me help you protect it.
Okay, welcome back to Rivalry Classic Football Show from up here at the Brown Jug in beautiful Ann Arbor, Michigan. Hey, I got to give a shout out to the legendary Jane Pilcher, my mother's best friend in the whole world. Thank you so much for coming to the show tonight. People don't understand the legacy of the great Millie Schembechler. We're going to talk about that down the road. But for now, we're going to talk about the GES Advisory Player of the Week. So I run a scouting and recruiting program. We've expanded to 28 states nationally already, and we're very excited to have our GES Player of the Week, Lincoln Perry. So we're going to try to get Lincoln on the phone here. He's a running back out of Houston High School in Memphis, Tennessee. This guy's production has been absolutely sickening. So many of you Michigan fans, you might even remember the great Sam McGuffey, the great returner that was here for a period of time. The great Fred Jackson recruited him. This kid reminds me of Sam McGuffey in every way possible. And so it's like watching video games. So this last game, he accounted for 5 of his team's 6 touchdowns. He accounted for 270 total yards. 4 of the touchdowns were rushes. The other one was a catch on a screen pass out of the backfield. And Lincoln, unbelievable dynamic athlete. He's probably all of 5'9". He's probably 185 pounds soaking wet. But he can run, and he is instinctive. He's got great vision, and he's been in our program for 2 years now. And I can tell you, as we get into the rest of the fall and the spring, it wouldn't shock me if multiple offers come in for this great young man. And he's an outstanding student, and he plays for, like I said, Houston High School. He's got an unbelievable offensive line that blocks in front of him. As a matter of fact, there's another young man who's a great offensive guard by the name of Kip Franklin. And so I think Kip's going to have a great opportunity to be the player of the week down the road, because he is all of 6'2", 290-some pounds. And you talk about a human road grader. So hopefully we'll be able to get Lincoln on the phone here pretty soon. When I first met him, it was 2 years ago. I was down in Memphis, Tennessee, and he was still in the 8th grade, and he knew he wanted to play college football. And I measured him out, and at that time he was probably all of 5'7", but he was about as strapped 175-pound running back as I've ever seen out of a guy who was only in the 8th grade. And I think so far this season, they played in 5 games. His team is 4-1 so far, and he's accounted for almost 1,000 yards in total offense, but he's got about 20 touchdowns. And so we want to congratulate Lincoln Perry. We're going to try to get him on the show here pretty soon. we're experiencing a couple Lincoln. And so I want people to go ahead and check out the gesadvisory.com. It's www.gesadvisory.com. We've got a great series of partners of guys that look out for the true interests of student athletes and want to advance their football careers as well as academics. And we're just so excited in year 4 to expand upon our national program. So we've had a couple new partners over the last several weeks. Brent Musarelli, who is up in Toledo, Mike Riddleman, who is out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We've got the right people in line to attract the very best talent and the best players that are also outstanding students. So we've been able to help young men from Division III to NAIA all the way up to Power 5. We've had Ohio Players of the Year. We've got a young man by the name of Will Phillips, who is a sophomore quarterback up at Kent State. We're very proud of his accomplishments. He was the Ohio Player of the Year.
Excuse me, Shemy. Shemy, can you
yeah.
hear me? I think we do have Lincoln on now. We're going to give it one more shot here with Lincoln. So let's go ahead and see if we can get Lincoln on.
Lincoln, are you there, buddy? All right. We got pictures of Lincoln. We'll keep trying again. All right. Shortly, we're going to get Don Thomas on here, the great Michigan man out of Atlanta, Georgia. I want to talk a little bit about recruiting. Obviously, recruiting is very hot and heavy these days with the commitment of Dax Hill. It looks like Michigan is competing for the #1 recruiting class in the Big Ten Conference. They're up there with Ohio State. It just seems that Urban Meyer consistently, year in and year out, recruits the very best student athletes in the country. I think they're loading up. They've got a pretty good recruiting offensive line class coming in, as well as Michigan. I can tell you, I'm just so impressed. Ever since I formed this company, and I think Michigan and Ohio State, they've developed what I think are the 2 best recruiting infrastructures and programs in the country. But I followed Ohio State for such a long time that Urban Meyer, even from his days back in Florida, and the fact that he's off suspension now, things are going to get back to normal here pretty quickly for the Ohio State Buckeyes. But what they do in recruiting via social media, via tape breakdown, they've got an unbelievable staff of former high school coaches that break down high school game film. And the fact that they do such a great job identifying talent, no matter where it is across the country, when you get a player that's the likes of Nick Bosa, when you get a player the likes of Mike Weber out of Cass Tech, and that was a very interesting recruiting story unto itself for him to come from Cass Tech all the way down to Ohio State. They have unbelievable infrastructure of support for those players, and I just think the world of them. I think Coach Harbaugh has done similar things here at the University of Michigan. The fact that they have done an unbelievable job recruiting offensive tackles and offensive linemen. They've got a great offensive tackle coming in here from the great state of Michigan. Another one
Shemy,
from the
sorry to cut you off. Let's try to give one more shot here for Lincoln, okay?
Okay, go ahead.
Lincoln, you there?
Yes, sir. I can hear you.
Oh, Lincoln. We got
it.
the great Lincoln Perry. Awesome. Lincoln, how you doing, buddy?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great, buddy. Hey, congratulations on an unbelievable performance last week against Melrose. Talk to us about that game.
We played Bartlett last week. We have Melrose this week.
Oh, Melrose this week. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, it's Bartlett last week. It was a great team win. It was a big game in our district to go 2-0 in our district to get us to 4-1, and it was just a great team win.
That's awesome. And so, and I was talking a little bit before you came on the air, the luxury of the great offensive line that you have. Talk to us about the offensive line that affords you the opportunities to be this productive.
Yes, the offensive line is definitely the biggest offensive line I've ever run behind, led by Kip Franklin. He's a big part of the O-line.
Yep.
He's probably the main guy in it, along with like Matt Needham, Morgan Scott, Parvada, and Jaron Olin. They're just massive, and they just move people.
Awesome. So from player to player, what's the average weight across the offensive line in your estimation?
Can you repeat that one more time? I
On the average, I mean, what's the average weight of your entire offensive line if you average out their weights across the line?
I'm not 100% on it, but I
was thinking 280,
like
290
pounds.
maybe.
Yes.
That's a great luxury for a running back. Hey, so talk to us about the game and why you were able to put up so many points in such a stirring 40-14 victory. Talk to us about the game.
You know, man, everybody was really locked in for the game, and you got to come up big for your team. And I took advantage of the opportunities that were given to me, and I helped my team win.
All right, that's awesome. So I've been bragging about you now, all right? And we've been talking about just the recruiting process and what you have to look forward to. I think you're up for some really exciting things. But I want you to do some research for me, okay? Lincoln, there was a great player that was recruited here at the University of Michigan, and his name was Sam McGuffey. Does that name resonate with you at all?
You're cutting out. I could barely hear what you said.
All right. How about Sam McGuffey? Have you ever heard his name?
I still can't hear you.
Okay, that's all right. So anyway, talk to us about the Melrose game coming up here this week.
Yes, we have Melrose this week. It's a big game because there's a lot of tradition held at Melrose, and so it's always a big game for us. It was a big game last year, big game this year. We just got to come up big, and everybody's got to do their jobs, and hopefully we come up with the victory.
All right, good for you. Tell us how recruiting is going so far. You've been to a lot of places as of late, haven't you?
Yes, sir. I've been to places like I just got back from Vandy. We were going to go down to Huntington College, and I think we're going to go down and visit Harvard. Just a few places.
Well, we got to get you hooked up so you get a chance to say hello to Coach Murphy when you go out to Harvard.
Yes, sir.
All right, awesome. Well, hey, Lincoln, we really appreciate you. Best of luck to the rest of the season, and we want to congratulate you on another great game, but we got a lot more to look forward to, right?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, Lincoln. Best of luck to you, buddy.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Thank you.
All right, that's pretty awesome. All right, Jake, let's take a quick break. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to get the great Don Thomas, Michigan man out of Atlanta, Georgia, on the other end of the commercial. And we're going to talk about our Wolverines and the Buckeyes. All right? The Rivalry Classic Football Show. Go Blue.
Go Bucks.
Beat Ohio. If you're a Michigan Wolverine fan, you know there is only one place to go to get all the latest and greatest Michigan and blue gear from Nike and Jordan brand. That place is, of course, the M-Den, the official merchandise retailer of Michigan Athletics. Make the M-Den your one-stop shop for all your University of Michigan apparel needs. Visit the M-Den today online at www.mden.com. Go Blue.
This is Doug Worthington, former Ohio State captain, and I'm at The College Traditions, where they have the official Nike apparel that the college players and the coaches wear on the sideline. College Tradition has the flags, they have the decals for the cars, they have everything to show your Buckeye pride. Come down, Buckeye Nation. College Tradition has a range for your feline friends and your canine pups that you can come and get them laced up in some of the best Buckeye gear. Being 6'6", 305 pounds, it is hard to find gear in my size. College Traditions have up to 5X in some of your best Buckeye gear. Come get you a lid, curve up that dome with the best hat selection in Columbus, Ohio. College Tradition, all the great apparel, all the great gear, and things for your man cave. Come down, check us out.
At Power Bar, we know you get what you put in. You get the energy and the excitement, the encouragement and the escape, the friendship and the loyalty. You get everything you need and nothing you don't. That's why Power Bar is back with remixed recipes and all new products to help you power on and savor every moment. Welcome to the new us.
Hi, my name is Crystal, and I'm a private client advisor with one of the leading insurance intermediaries for highly successful individuals. Because of our size, we have powerful partnerships with the industry's premier carriers. I specialize in leveraging these relationships to find my clients the most efficient and effective insurance solutions at the best prices. Don't miss out on this opportunity. A consultation with me is at no cost to you. Whether it be for your business or your personal insurance needs, you earned it, and now let me help you protect it.
All right, welcome back. The Rivalry Classic Football Show from the Brown Jug in Ann Arbor, Michigan. We got a rousing crowd here tonight. This is awesome. Capacity crowd with the great Jane Pilcher over here. All right. Hey, we want to welcome the legendary Michigan man, Don Thomas, out of Atlanta, Georgia. Don, are you there?
Yes, I am. How you doing, Shemy?
I'm doing great, brother. So good to have you on the show here. Let's talk about Michigan and the SMU game. And obviously, it was not the best performance that we had hoped out of the Michigan Wolverines, considering how we righted the ship the previous week. Now that we're in the midst, at the beginning of the Big Ten Conference, we got the Nebraska Cornhuskers coming to town. Talk to us about the state of the Michigan team in your mind right now.
The state of the Michigan team. Honestly, I think we're kind of at homeostasis, kind of at a kind of level. That's kind of the way I see it. Because we played well in the last two games, we didn't play as well as we could have, especially in the first half of the SMU game. So we're kind of at a homeostasis, just right in the middle. And I really believe how we play this weekend is going to set a tone for how our conference season goes. We should beat Nebraska, but I really believe that it's going to come down to how we play as well. We want to leave that stadium feeling good about our wins and not just survive.
Right.
So I think we just need to really kind of get it out. We don't need to beat them 50-0, but we need to just beat them handily, soundly, and play a fundamentally sound football game and feel good about ourselves going into week 2 of the Big Ten schedule. I
couldn't agree more, Don. And we kind of talked about this earlier. The idea that you've got an 0-2 Nebraska team that started late because they had their first game canceled because of weather. I think you have a Nebraska team that has yet to find out who they are as well. And they have such a young team. They're probably going to put that freshman quarterback on the field, who is going to be a work in progress, even though he's a really dynamic athlete. But I think, and I kind of disagree with what Zach said earlier, is that for Scott Frost to be creative as a play caller, it's not been with a true freshman quarterback who just set foot on campus for the first time just 3 months ago. And I think with Michigan, I think Don Brown is going to bring the heat early. If we can stop the run early on early downs, I think we can get inside that quarterback's head because he has never faced a defense like this. You cannot compare Washington. I'm sorry, who they play in the first week? I forget. But they with Troy, and then in the previous week against I forget. But two underperforming teams. This is going to be a different mindset for the Nebraska team, considering how young they are. And I think in many ways, Scott Frost knows he's got plenty of lead with this program in terms of building up the recruiting where it needs to be. But I really believe Michigan should be able to hold this Nebraska offense down as long as they keep those athletes in check on the outside, because they do have some dynamic players for Nebraska.
I agree.
Yep.
I think we're going to win because this weekend for Nebraska, this is their season in a nutshell. Because you go on 3, there's really no coming back, especially with the schedule that they have. They still got to go to Ohio State and other places. So this is their season right here. I think they're going to throw everything they have at us. I think they're going to throw their best punch early.
Right.
So it's important not to get rid of it. They make a big play and they do something that's going to get them hyped and increase the morale of their team. It's important to kind of stay, whatever their best punch is, it's important to absorb that punch and then go with a 1-2 combo and sit them back down. We can't get rid of you because we're still young in some positions, especially the offensive line position. Not necessarily young in age. Of course, Cesar Ruiz is a sophomore, but young in experience with our tackles, especially Michelle Beatty's played on and off over the last couple of years. And then John Runyon Jr. is his first year as a starter.
Right.
So it's important for us not to kind of take that punch. They're going to come out swinging. They're going to give it all they got. But basically, it's one of those things where you throw one quick 1-2 combo, they're done. So it's important for us to jump on them early and not give them any hope going into the locker room. You don't want them going in the locker room, hoping. You don't want to go in the locker room yelling at each other, "Go, guys, let's show some pride." That's what you want it to be. You don't want it to be, "All right, guys, we can do this." And then because once they believe, and then anything can happen in the second half. But we got to basically jump on them early.
And that's been the key, Don, because, we know very well the Michigan first quarter, particularly on offense, we have not started fast. And we provided some recommendations, Zach and I, about what we think Coach Harbaugh should change up his play calling philosophy just a little bit. They make things a little bit more dynamic, take advantage of Shea Patterson, the ability that he has. And if we do that and we can protect well enough, we can be afforded some opportunities because we can loosen up that defense, not bring so many guys close to the box area, and hit them on plays deep downfield, because Shea has proven already that he's got deep ball accuracy. And I think our offensive line can end up becoming more comfortable under that scenario, so that we can gain some really confidence in the first quarter, especially on offense.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing, Harbaugh, he wants to force feed the run. That's his natural style. Force feed the run, body blows, then go for the jugular. That's how Harbaugh wants to do it. I think Harbaugh wants to kind of get him off balance and use the pass to set up the run and use a little bit of tempo. We don't got to go full Ole Miss, but use a little bit of tempo, get them off balance, get them confused, because we have the athletes to run tempo. We got the skill guys. We have the quarterback to run some tempo, and I think we need to kind of mix that in and keep them all balanced, because we can't afford to have a first quarter. Last time was 1-2-3 punt, 1-2-3 punt, and we don't throw a ball past 5 yards on the field with the kind of quarterback and the kind of pass catchers that we have. We have to go. We have to get them off balance, and we got to open it up just a little bit. We don't got to show them everything, because I don't think we don't want to put too much on film. But I think we need to really kind of open it up just a little bit more.
Right. Well, I think Jim's intent on doing that already. I think I heard one of the players quote, I think it was Cesar Ruiz last week, where he said they've only utilized about 20% of the offensive playbook so far. And I think, everybody's talking about Peoples-Jones and the great game that he had last weekend. I think Nico Collins has become a very important second option for Michigan, aside from the tight ends, obviously. I have a feeling that he's ready for a breakout season, because everybody's going to be paying attention to Peoples-Jones. But I think Nico Collins has proven in many ways that he is a big, strong athlete that has really good speed. And I made a comparison early on. People may get mad at me, but I compared him to a very young Braylon Edwards in many ways, not only from an athletic standpoint, but just his height, weight, speed, his frame, his ability to create big plays and big opportunities down the field, because he understands how to use his body downfield. I'm very optimistic in terms of how he's going to be able to contribute once we get into the Big Ten Conference. Right, buddy?
Absolutely. I agree. I mean, you throw a fade. 6'5", he's got basketball ability. Put it up. Let's play basketball a little bit with the 5'11" quarterback.
No doubt. And people don't realize how fast he is. I mean, when Braylon played here, he ran track in the spring. And Braylon, he was a 10-800 meter guy for a guy that was that big. He competed in the Big Ten 100-meter track meet indoors. This kid reminds me of Braylon in a big way. Now, he may not be the personality of Braylon, but that's okay. We can take that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so hey, let's flip it over. Let's talk a little bit more about the defense. I think when you have a guy like Chase Winovich, who consistently productive, consistently competitive, the way we've been playing him and just how instinctive he is. I love talking about guys that have great instincts and anticipation and awareness. It's no surprise to me for him to be as productive as he's been. And it's so interesting because Rashawn Gary, he's getting double teamed on pretty much every single play. And I think the Nebraska team's going to have to resort to the same type of thing, because I watched the guy having to play left tackle at Nebraska. If they try to block Rashawn Gary one-on-one, they're going to be in a world of problems. So don't be surprised if you see a tight end and a running back stay in the game for protection purposes. And what that does, it's going to provide opportunities for Bush Jr. As well as Khalil Hill. I have a feeling the Michigan defense is going to take a great step forward because you don't have a poised and composed veteran quarterback like we've had in the past that's going to make those decisions under duress. So it could be a close game early. I have a feeling we're going to run away with it late, just for those reasons alone.
I agree, and I think because of the blitz, I think kind of piggybacking on what you said, I think Nebraska's going to do a lot of max protect. Leave that tight end, that running back in to block, which means less receivers out to pass, which is going to give the ability for us to be a lot more creative with our blitzes. Because I think even if they have 5 or 6 home, I still think we have the ability to get home with 3 or 4. So it gives us some creativity to do other things and give other nuances and really confuse those young quarterbacks, whichever one they roll out there. I'm optimistic that they won't score. They won't score. Right. I don't say a cut solid shut, but I don't believe that we had to be worried about them run the score on us. I don't think we have that problem at all.
No doubt about it. All right, hey Don, what are we going to do about this Ohio State team? How are we going to beat them in November, knowing what we know here in September?
Honestly, Shemy, TCU gave us a great roadmap on what we can do, how we can beat them. I agree. We had a lot of issues with that tempo. So we can go tempo. We have the quarterback receivers.
Yeah.
We keep them on balance and basically keep their defense on stage.
Right.
I really believe we have a chance because I think our defense will play well enough. Our defense is going to show up. I think everyone's going to be motivated to play. Yeah. I just think we need to keep them on balance and keep them on skates. We can't let them be on cleats. If they're on cleats, they got the athletes to get around. But keep them on skates, keep them on balance. I think that's how we beat them in November.
Don, I love what you say, but my concern is, have you ever seen us play up-tempo? Huh? I don't think we played up-tempo, quite frankly. All right? And not to say that's the end-all, be-all in terms of how we make plays, but the one thing that, and this is my understanding of Ohio State's defense, they're very athletic, okay? They've got great speed. They've got great instincts by and large, with the exception of Tough Boren's the only instinctive linebacker on that entire linebacking core. The other thing is they play so much man coverage. When they bring blitz packages, and they do it a lot, I know Greg Schiano loves to bring extra heat, particularly coming from the field as opposed to the boundary. They did that a bunch in the fourth quarter against TCU, and they basically muffled their attack because TCU was trying to run a lot of RPOs, and Ohio State was taking that away from them. I have a feeling that Michigan is going to have to figure out how to protect once we get to November. If they can figure out how to protect and to give Shea Patterson enough time when they bring 6, 7, 8 guys on blitz packages, which I know that they have done and I know they will do against Michigan, is the idea that we're going to find an open option quick or downfield and be able to hit those big plays when we were not able to do it a year ago. I think we have enough confidence in our wide receiving core this year and understand what we've talked about with Nico Collins and Donovan Peoples-Jones, as well as our tight ends core. I think Shea Patterson's going to have the wherewithal to be able to manage that pressure, number one, but also to find open seams and to find the open receiver in the middle of the field, understanding the Ohio State secondary, in my mind, has issues when the ball is left in the air and they're in man coverage because they're not getting a head around to the ball fast enough. And so I think that's going to be a critical component in regards to how Michigan potentially could win. Now, by no means are we saying is that our personnel matches up with Ohio State. That's not what I'm saying. But oftentimes, if you can take advantage of those situations and game plan well enough, I think you can be afforded the opportunity to beat an Ohio State team when you beat them at their own game and they can't get the pressure on time because we're getting rid of the ball quickly before the secondary knows what hit them. All right, Don? All right, buddy. Looks like our boy Don has ended his call. We're going to welcome him back next week once we're back in Columbus. We're going to wrap up our show tonight up here at the Brown Jug in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Hey, once again, we want everybody to support elliesplace.org. Tonight, if you get here, we're getting ready to wrap it up. It's almost 8 o'clock here. But all of the proceeds, a portion of the proceeds from every meal purchase is going to get donated to elliesplace.org. ELES.org, www. Be sure to support that great nonprofit organization, our great partner here at the Rivalry Classic Football Show. And before I let everybody go, we want to thank our sponsors, Premier Nutrition, MDen, John Romans Construction, College Traditions. We're going to be at College Traditions next week. And then, obviously, Brown & Brown Insurance with our friends down in Florida. Until next week, let's go and beat Ohio State plays Tulane. That's going to be an easy one. But let's beat the Nebraska Cornhuskers so we can finish up this season with both teams undefeated in the Big Ten Conference. Thanks again for joining us, everybody. The Rivalry Classic Football Show. Go Blue. Go Bucks.